Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight's episode of IHWE Radio is dedicated to the memory of Shuhei Aoki. I apologize if I do not have that name pronounced correctly. Did not have a chance to know the man very well. He was a proud CAC member, and last night it was found out from many of us that he passed away from a heart attack at the age of 39. At IHWE Radio, we promote positive goodwill amongst wrestling, and Shuhei was definitely an example of goodwill in this industry. I had a chance to speak to him for a brief few minutes this last year in Vegas. Normally, he and I would just say our hellos, shake hands, and go on about whatever we were doing. But this year I took the chance, had a moment, we talked for a few, and I'm glad I did because, unfortunately, now he's no longer with us. And if you would all join in, as well as other CAC members around the States, around the world, we have members in Belgium, New Zealand, they're joining in. We're going to have a moment of silence for Shuhei, and we're going to ring the bell 10 times in his memory. And in his memory, we are going to do what we do best here at IHWE Radio, and we're going to entertain. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. on the sunny west coast of California, and you are listening to IHWE Radio. I'm your host, Michael McCurdy, the creator and author of Encyclopedia WCCW, as well as a digital media producer for IHWE, a title I'm very proud of. And joining me, as always, a little under the weather, a little medicated, so he might be highly entertaining tonight, is my co-host, David Fuller. David, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing all right. I also want to send my condolences to the family of the departed. The name is Hochi?
Shuhei Aoki, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Aoki. The family of Mr. Aoki, the family of Mr. Aoki. I'm not one of those to pretend to know somebody that passed away. If I didn't, I never met the man. I didn't know of him until just recently, until the past 24 hours. But he was and will always be a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club. That's what the Cauliflower Alley Club is all about. It's about people who love this business and getting together, respecting one another, embracing one another, and I'm glad everybody has that opportunity. He was very well respected. I'm reading so many wonderful things about this young man, and it's unfortunate. That's why things like the CAC, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Gulf Coast Wrestling Reunion, the Dan Gable Luces, the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame, that's why these days are important, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. This past Saturday was the 1-year anniversary, unfortunately, that we lost Maniac Matt Bourne. And the last time I saw him was at the 2013 Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. It's unfortunate when we lose people that we care about, that we love. It's unfortunate. All we can do is keep the memories close by and enjoy the time that we had. This business is so awesome because it brings so many people together, people of different races, different cultures, different backgrounds. It brings everybody together to love and respect for professional wrestling, and that's why this business is the greatest business in the world. It's the greatest form of entertainment in the world. a big reason because of that is not only because of the people who are involved, but the people who love it, follow it, respect it, and cherish it. So to the family, to the friend, my condolences to all of you. God bless, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Should have a good show tonight, but we needed to get that out. It was very important, especially to Michael. Like I said, I didn't know of the gentleman. Michael knew of him. We're both lifetime members of the CAC. It's extremely important to us. So hopefully anybody who is listening that had some connection with this man enjoys the show tonight.
Well, you mentioned Waterloo. You mentioned the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. You mentioned CAC and all that. I'm pretty sure from everything I've read that he's probably been at every one of those functions except for the IHWE Hall of Fame, and I'm pretty sure that if you extended an invitation, he could make it. He'd have been there. Armed with a camera. Never saw the guy without a camera, always taking photos, and then he came back the next year, and he would have photos for the people that he took the year before. I mean, he was just very friendly, very giving guy, very quiet. Like I said, we never really had a chance to talk much. It was always, I'd see him, say hello, and then we'd go off doing whatever we were doing at that time. But for some reason this year, I had a couple minutes in between running around doing my thing for the radio show this year, and had a chance. We talked for a few minutes, we're looking at a few of the pictures, and maybe it was meant to happen that I finally had my chance to talk to him. So,
well, I'm glad
anyway.
that you did. I'm glad that you did, and yeah, I would have invited him. I mean, the Hall of Fame is open to anybody, especially anybody who's a fan. And we say no fans, but that it's for we try to keep it to just family. But I mean, if somebody like this young man would have, I say young man because he was a young man. He was only 39 years old. I say young man because of that. He's not an old man by any means. So, but if this young man had gotten in touch with me, yes, there would have been an open invitation. I love meeting people like that. I mean, I love meeting, especially people from different parts of the world. I have a friend online, Masanori, and he's been around for a long time, and I say that with respect. He knows everybody. He knows Stan Hansen. He knows Foley. He knows Jericho. He's been around for a long time, and he is a fan. And I call him Sir, and he gets on me. He's like, "Don't call me Sir." And I'm like, "Well, I can't help it." He's got pictures of everybody. And he didn't come to CSC. He was at WrestleMania, and he was at the Mid-South. I think he was at the Mid-South Fan Fest. But that's what's so great about our business. And while there's grieving and there's sadness and there's sorrow, of course, that happens with everybody. When people leave us that we care about, that happens, and that's part of it. But thank God that we're all in this together, because we are. Wrestling is a fraternity. Not just the people who lace up a pair of boots, not just the people that shell out money, not just the people that work in the wrestling business, but the hardcore fans. And that word is not a bad word by any means, because without them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. I wouldn't be a promoter. We wouldn't be doing this radio show. The hardcore fans that respect the business, that won't accept anything but the absolute 100% best every time they buy a ticket, those are the that's awesome. I think wrestling has the greatest fans in the world. I think it has the greatest lineage. I think it has the best success story ever. For so many years, wrestling was looked at as a joke. People that thought they were above wrestling but thumbed their noses at it. But nobody can take away the impact on pop culture that professional wrestling has had. And I've met some wonderful people. So has Michael, the CAC every year. A lot of them get together in Las Vegas. Wonderful people, folks. We're very blessed and very lucky. So, like I said, there's going to be grieving, and that's okay. It needs to happen. But let's all remember, hey, this is cool that we get the opportunity to hang around these wonderful people, because had we been involved in something else, we might not get that opportunity. I mean, I might not have met Michael. I might not have met been involved in wrestling. Michael's love for Texas wrestling kind of brought him and me together. And thank God that it did. I made a friend, I made a hell of a partner, and somebody that I'm going to look back on this year, and now I made a new connection, and I'm going to look back and be proud of that. Just keep in mind, people keep in mind that we're a part of something really special. And as long as you respect it, it'll always be there.
I got a little choked up there, man. Yeah, we're friends. I like that. No, man, it's definite. I mean, you meet the greatest people. I've met just people that I can say are friends of mine that I can contact anytime, and I enjoy that. And yes, you and I, we met. You're in Texas, I'm in California. We both have one thing in common that brought us together, and now look what we're doing. So, and in September, you and I are going to be face to face. So, hey.
Batten down the hatches for that one, ladies and gentlemen. First time ever.
Oh, yeah.
And when Michael says face-to-face, he means he'll be standing up regular, and I'll be on top of a chair. That's what Michael really
I probably have to sit down, but,
Probably. Maybe that's going to be an exclusive for IHWE TV, the first time ever that David Fuller and Michael McCurdy have to sit down.
There we go,
well,
man.
real quick before we get to the show, I know we've got a big guest coming on, and I think it's going to be an awesome interview. Jonny Fairplay, he's got a long history in television and in professional wrestling. There's a lot of things going on right now with the company, ladies and gentlemen, so you got to stay tuned to social media. This month alone, we've got July 16th, we're going to have a Terry Gordy tribute, the Bruiser Brody tribute that we had, the Ultimate Warrior tribute that we had were huge hits. People loved them. We're going to continue to do this as much as we can. We're going to be doing one for Terry Bam Bam Gordy, legendary Texas Wrestling Hall of Famer, legendary member of the Fabulous Freebirds, former UWF heavyweight champion, so on and so forth. He's done it all. Connie Gordy's going to be on that night, and we've confirmed Jim Cornette will be returning. That should be a very interesting show. I'm working on some more people. July 30th. July 23rd, I believe, Michael, and if I'm wrong, you correct me, we're having a Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling reunion.
July 23rd, man, we're going to have July 23rd. Grimlina, Little Mama, Hollywood, MTV, and Dallas will be joining us.
All right. Well, nobody would have ever fathomed the impact on pop culture that Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling has. Married with Children, so on and so forth. I mean, you can Wikipedia Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and you can read the history. You haven't seen the documentary, you need to see it. It's available on digital download. I believe it's on Amazon Instant Video. I believe it's on Vudu. I believe it's on Netflix. I've got the DVD here. And if you've never seen it, you need to sit down and watch it because it's one of the greatest stories ever told. They're going to be here on July 23rd. July 30th is going to be my swan song as far as the weekly co-host here with Michael. We're going to announce a new co-host. Also that night, I know the voice of Texas Wrestling, Rob Moore, is going to be here. He's the voice of IHWE. I know XTW alumni and video game media personality. Scott Patterson is going to be here, the PSP as he's called. He's a social media guru. He's got about 70,000 Twitter followers, and he started right here in Texas, retired wrestler. I do know that Ashton Jacobs and Gregory James, two of the three competitors in the DFW Championship match, will also be on here on the season premiere of IHWE TV. They'll be on here that night. I'm working on Sarah Morgan from the Lex and Terry show. That's going to be awesome. And then I believe the first week of August, I believe on Wednesday night, August 6th, it's the all-new IHWE radio, new co-host with Michael, new format. Michael's working on some really cool stuff. So a lot of good stuff coming on. And come August, IHWE is going to be doing anti-bullying. We got a new anti-bullying campaign going on. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be spectacular. We got a first assembly on Saturday, August 30th. I'm really excited about that. I'm about to order some IHWE Don't Be a Bully t-shirts. Life is short, don't be a bully. That's our campaign. And man, there's so much going on. It's so cool. Somebody emailed me the other day and they're like, how do you do this? How do you do all this? And your father and husband, and it ain't easy.
He don't sleep, ladies and gentlemen. He don't sleep.
So much going on. You just gotta, the good thing, if you're not here, if you're not working in the company, you're lucky. If you're not Michael or Joe up in Buffalo working on the website, or jobs out in the United Kingdom working on graphics, then you're lucky because all you have to do is stay tuned to social media. We're all the ones doing all the work. So if you're not, lucky. But we got a caller on the line, Michael. I can believe that's your guest. So if that is, why don't you go ahead and take this?
Find out who we have here. Area code 213605. You're on IHWE Radio.
Hey, it's Fairplay. What's up?
How you doing? Ladies and gentlemen,
Great.
Let me take a moment here to introduce this guest properly. You may know him as reality TV superstar. You may know him as indie wrestling personality. You may know him as one of, in my opinion, the greatest villains in Survivor history. Please welcome to IHWE Radio, Jonny Fairplay. Jonny, how you doing tonight?
Great. Just hanging out in beautiful downtown Danville, Virginia, and getting ready for a big weekend at my buddy Big Tom's from Survivor Africa and All-Stars, and also hanging out with Lex from Survivor Africa and All-Stars. So it should be a good time. My daughter's happy about the fireworks that are protruding out of my trunk of my car. I loaded up in South Carolina last week, so we're ready.
All right, sounds like a good one there. I got a small box of fireworks. I got little children, so we're just going to do a little tiny box, about 17. But my kids are excited too, so holiday weekend.
Well, my daughter's 6. My daughter's 6, but she has big wallet dreams. So just trying to keep those coming true.
So that explains why you got to still keep doing all the reality TV and all the indie spots, man. You got to have the big wallet for the daughter's big taste, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, she does the dance, the swim lessons, the summer camp, you name it, it happens. Apparently there's a fire here in downtown Danville. Or no, he's leaving downtown Danville to go and put out a fire. So there you go. So the fireworks started early here.
Sounds like we got something really good going on here.
Yeah, I'm checking my trunk right now. We're all good. We're all good, guys. So no worries. No need to send out the tweet. So.
Okay, that's good. We don't want Jonny Fairplay going up on live on IHWE Radio. That may not be good for our advertising. So, anyways, Jonny, for those who might have been living in a cave for the last few years or whatever, what is the origin of Jonny Fairplay?
The origin? I mean, I don't know. I grew up outside of Greensboro, North Carolina. So starting at the age of 4, my dad started taking me to the old NWA matches. So and at the age of 4, am I allowed to use bad words or no? What's the
Go ahead.
deal?
We're okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, at the age of 4, my dad told me root for the bad guys because the good guys are pussies. So that kind of led to the origins of Jonny Fairplay, I believe. I mean, if I had to put to pinpoint it. So I grew up a fan of Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, later Andy Kaufman. So that's kind of what I kind of consider myself a hybrid of those guys with the athletic ability of Andy Kaufman. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad, but it seems to have worked for me for the last 11 plus years. So that's good.
Well, I'm definitely a Kaufman fan of myself. In my opinion, another thing, that guy was a comic genius. I just don't think people understood just how intelligent and just how funny that guy really was.
Well,
I think he was kind of one of those misunderstood.
Yeah, no, the smart people got it. I mean, like when I did my first Survivor, like I was actually quoting Andy Kaufman out there because it came down to myself and 4 girls, and so I used the Kaufman lines and Bob Odenkirk and David Cross from Mr. Show with Bob and David. A lot of people probably know David or Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. So I mean, they recognized it, and I know a lot of TV producers and execs that they caught it too. So I mean, that's why I've been fortunate enough to kind of ride this wave a lot longer than a lot of the quote unquote reality stars, which is I'm thankful and just blessed, for that to happen. But there's a method behind the madness. So I'm nice in real life, I think. I mean, I don't really like fans or anything. So I mean, that part is kind of true to the character. But but at the same time, I work with production very well, and I think that's all you're really supposed to do. So.
Now, you started in wrestling in the late 80s.
The late 80s? God, no. I think in the late 80s I was...
90s, sorry.
I was still wearing footy pajamas.
You're not that young. You're not that young. Sorry, bad note there. My daughter scribbled on them with crayon. Late 90s. I apologize for that
late 90s I started in Greensboro, North Carolina for a promotion called New Dimension Wrestling. And I was a manager for whatever bad guy tag team they gave me that supposedly had the belts at the time, so that the number one babyface tag team, these two guys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, couldn't leave with the belts because they were having tryouts for WWE or WBF at the time. So I came in to manage, as I said, whatever bad guy tag team, and then she at the end to keep the belts. So that's where I started wrestling wise, and it was fun. I mean, like when I first showed up, they're like, "No, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Jonny Fairplay," and they're like, "What's your gimmick?" "I don't play fair." They're like, "That's a good gimmick." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it makes sense." So I come to the ring and talk about how I don't cheat. It's all about good, clean sportsmanship and all that. And then at the end of the match, I'd cheat, and they're like, "You lied," or you cheated. I'm like, "Yeah, I lied." So that was it. It's pretty simple character, I think, but it worked.
So when did Jonny Fairplay gimmick start?
Then like that. I mean, I think 98, 99. So.
Okay, so it actually started. You didn't come into with this idea. Okay, I got it.
What's that?
Now you went up to Oregon. After.
I went up to Oregon in 2000, and I'd already created the Jonny Fairplay character. So when I got to Oregon, I was working for this AM radio station that used to run the Grease Man in the mornings, Don and Mike, G. Gordon Liddy, the Sports Junkies, Ron and Fez, and the same radio station shared an office with the owners of Portland Wrestling. So I got in with those guys. I did a little bit of managerial stuff for the Portland Wrestling TV show. And then they stopped running, so then I started running my own promotion, which was New Dimension Wrestling West Coast, because New Dimension Wrestling East Coast that I'd worked at with the Hardys and all that, they had produced a television pilot, and they'd spent a lot of money on the opening graphics, and I was just like, well, if I can just steal these opening graphics, that'd be a lot of money that I don't want to, come out of pocket on. So I did that, and I started running my own shows and producing a weekly television show, and we did well. I mean, we had a show on Friday nights at 8:00, and we made the front page of the local free newspaper thing and all that, and it was moderately successful. I don't know. I mean, it was what it was. And then I moved from Portland to Los Angeles, and when I got to Los Angeles, I received a phone call from Roddy Piper. He wanted to meet with me and to become his personal assistant, and so I did that for a year. And after that, I was senior art consultant at a gallery in Los Angeles. I represented the artwork of Olivia. For those of you that have ever read a Playboy, she does the Betty Page paintings, pictures that you see in Playboy, and so I represented her. I did sold a lot of her original art. Most of my clients, or some of my clients, were like Dennis Hopper and Ashton Kutcher and some other guys. And then out of nowhere, I get I run into the head of casting for Survivor, and she asked me to be on the show, and the rest is history.
Now, when you're working up for, you mentioned Portland Wrestling, who was running at that point in time?
Jeff and Ivan Kafori. were running at that time.
Okay, so they were the Kafouris. Okay, because I used to go up to Portland back in it was mid-2000 when Frank Culbertson was running Portland wrestling.
I know Frank. Frank was just starting right when I left, I believe. So the Kafouris were running. Smart Bart was the booker. Myself and Jim Valley were kind of assisting with the book with him, and Smart Bart is Smart Bart. So I remember one. I believe it was my intro into Portland wrestling. Like Smart Bart brings me out and does this 5-minute intro telling me how great I am and everything else, and it was really appreciated. And then before I had a chance to, give my own little spiel, he was like, and up next here is gorgeous Michelle Starr. And I was just like, okay, well, the best way to get over is not say anything. So, I feel like Chris Jericho, 2012, stole my gimmick.
We definitely got some connection here because you mentioned Michelle Starr, Jim Valley. I know. In fact, I just saw Michelle Starr a couple weeks ago in Vegas at the Cauliflower reunion. And in 2005, Jim Valley was working with Frank for Portland Wrestling for a bit. So these are all names that I know, people I've met. So Jim Valley is definitely kind of a character in his own right.
I talked to Jim Monday night. He co-hosted the PW Torch livecast Monday night with Bruce Mitchell, and he did an amazing job. I mean, Jim's had a tough road. I mean, he had lesions on his brain. I mean, he was really close to death. So to come back from all that and have an amazing, I guess, podcast or whatever with Bruce on Monday, I gave him a call afterwards. I was just like, hey, just wanted to say, great job and keep fighting the good fight. So.
Now, who else did you work with up in Portland? Just seeing what other names we might have in common here. Well, what other names were you working with?
Oh, who else did I was good friends with Bruiser Brian Cox. He's now dead.
We lost him. Can't remember when.
As I said, Smart Bart was over at my house pretty much nightly. The Suicide King. When I ran New Dimension Wrestling, my favorites were the Suicide Kings, Nikki Sixx and Matt Farmer.
Nikki Sixx and Matt Farmer,
Yeah, Awesome Adam. I like those guys. Billy Two Eagles. Jim Valley and myself, we rebranded him the Pit Boss B2E. So that was fun. We had Coach Mike Jones, the child molesting coach at the most, which he was not aware of the gimmick at the time he was doing it. Fans would throw underoos at him when he got into the ring, and he didn't get it, and that was funny. Who else? Sonny Colada. It was the Governor Wilson Kane. We had repackaged him as with an Italian gimmick with Will the Hitman, and I don't know if we used Thunder or not, but I remember Thunder being around. Blake Cruel. I don't know. The highlights for me were Awesome Adam just really gave his entire body for every match that he did, and I was very honored that he did that, and as well as Matt Farmer and Nikki Sixx, because they had to fight him, so that wasn't fun for them. But no, I mean, I don't know. I felt like I was there at a good time, kinda, and kinda not. I mean, it was the height of wrestling and also the downfall of wrestling. So it was what it was. So I little known fact, I kind of single-handedly took down the Oregon State Athletic Commission, because they at the time, if you remember, WB or F, whenever they were called, they weren't running wrestling shows, and I was using unlicensed wrestlers. I mean, I had Drew Gage and another guy. I think they were 16 or 17 years old, and they were using ladders and thumbtacks and all that, and so I was running shows, and I one of the venues I used, I the owner of the venue was like, he goes, I'm excited about this. I'm like, I'm kind of excited too, but the commission, they kind of have a problem with this. Is this going to be it's going to be an issue? And he was like, well, what's the guy look like? I'm like, well, the only guy that's going to show up to this show that looks like John Glenn, the astronaut. And he was like, I got it covered. So when the commission showed up, he was just like, hey, I'm here to see the show. And he was just like, well, you can't come in unless you have a ticket. And he was like, I'm with the commission. I'm supposed to be in there. He goes, well, I'm sorry, you can't come in without a ticket. And he was like, fine, I'll buy a ticket. He goes, well, sorry, we're sold out. So that happened 2 shows in a row, and the Oregon State Athletic Commission deemed that professional wrestling was unenforceable, and the commission disbanded. So, and
wow.
Vince ran promptly thereafter. So you're welcome, Uncle Vince.
Now, did you ever do anything or have any interaction with WWE? I know you worked TNA. Did you ever have any time with WWF, WWE, or?
No. After when I did my first Survivor, I got a call from WWE. It was like they wanted to do like a deal going into WrestleMania, and the 2 scenarios that were pitched were option A was like something with me against a bunch of the divas, and they would beat me up, because I did do the Kaufman stuff on Survivor. And and that sounded appealing. And then I got a call, then option B was I was going to be revealed as Trish's sleazy boyfriend when she had the whole thing with Trish and Jericho. And I think it was going to turn out that I it was me, and I was managing Tomco somehow. So I think that was the offer was it was like a 4-month deal, like $80,000 for 4 months, but they wanted me to sign over my name. And then TNA called, and they offered me a 2-year deal for $300,000 for 52 appearances, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm not real good at math, but I think that sounds like the better deal. And TNA, they used me 8 times and paid me to stay at home. And despite my lust for being on television and everything else, I can't complain, getting $300,000 for 40 minutes work. I mean, it's pretty good gig.
And getting to sit at home, yeah.
Yeah. So.
If I remember during your TNA run, you brought in Luger, correct?
Yeah.
Isn't that how they tied in? Like Lex Luger was with you.
Yeah, that was a fun day. Luger showed up early in the day, and I think Scotty Riggs actually drove him to the fairgrounds, and I don't think he ever got, I think they were in some kind of Hummer or something, and I don't think Luger got out of the car. And then the show, the pay-per-view started. I don't think he was still there. And then I think right before it was time for him, he showed up, and there wasn't much communication. He did what he did, and my friends, popped for it. They're just like, dude, you brought in Lex Luger and all that. But, I don't remember the locker room being happy with where he, in what state he was in or anything else, mentally. And, do what you want, to each his own. But, I don't want anybody that could possibly hurt somebody. So the whole thing, I guess, kind of sucked. But, I mean, it was cool for the resume. I don't know, something like that.
Now, currently, you're back up in Oregon, currently. You're working with West Coast Wrestling Connection out of Salem, which is Jeff Manning's organization. How did you meet up with...
We're actually doing TV tapings in Portland, and then we do our house shows in Salem.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you end up meeting with Jeff Manning? Because I've known Jeff for about probably 10 years now. Definitely, he's a good guy. I like him. But he definitely also kind of a character,
I like him a lot. I mean, we met. I did a show in February in right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And they brought me in as a babyface. And I did the Pledge of Allegiance with Tony Atlas. I gave oh God, he's going to kill me if I forget his name. Larry Zbysko's roommate. He was on Tool Academy. He dates Brittany or Santana Garrett. God, Jason Rance. I came out during the Jimmy Jacobs Jason Rance match and gave him the Tool of the Night award. So they had me working as a baby, and which made no sense to me. And then at the end of the night, Brian Cage gave me an unscripted power bomb, and I left with concussion. And so Jeff happened to be at the show, and we had talked throughout the weekend, and he was just like, hey, he's like, I'm doing this deal in Portland and Salem, and I'd like you to be a part of it. But if you don't mind, we'd like to use you as a heel. I was like, really? You think?
No way. Jonny Fairplay is a heel? No.
Yeah, I know. It's so silly. Well, you know what? I got a little disgruntled the other day. Like, the show airs on PDX TV in Portland, Oregon, on Saturday nights at midnight, and there's been fans that have watched the show and did tapings and all that, and it's just like, oh my God, Jonny Fairplay, I was at the shows or I watched the show, he's hilarious, and I'm just like, wow, I'm really dropping the ball here. Like the last word I would hope to get would be hilarious, but then, it's disgruntled and saddened that I was by that information. I read a report from I think it was a live report from the from Monday Night Raw in Hartford, Connecticut this past Monday night, and they were talking about Paul Heyman. They're just like, Paul Heyman, just great heat, and I got to say, if you were at ringside, that guy is hilarious. And I'm just like, you know what? If they're giving Heyman the hilarious tag, I'll take it too. So there you go.
Yeah, I had a chance to catch a few. I've been watching the shows run on YouTube now, so I've seen a few. Your suits are definitely very colorful when you come to the ring.
Thank you. So
I got to say, you definitely got a style.
Well, Loudmouth Golf sponsors me. I did an episode of Playing with John Daly on the Golf Channel. So Loudmouth Golf reached out to me and said, so they do all my suits for me.
So now, who are you working with in West Coast? Because the match I saw, I believe you were managing. I think it was Dr. Cleaver and
Ashton Baton.
I can't think. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date on some of the current guys.
No, Ashton Baton and Dr. Cleaver, collectively I have them known as Beauty and the Beast, and that's for the Portland television show. And then for the house shows, I manage Jimmy Jacobs and Ashton Baton, and they're collectively known as the Hollywood Love Guns.
So Cleaver and Ashton Baton are known as Beauty and the Beast?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but there's friction. If you keep watching, it's not working out because the gimmick is Ashton Baton is a very beautiful man. He is a model, and he is the beauty part of Beauty and the Beast. And Dr. Cleaver is obviously the Beast because he's not pretty. Well, Cleaver has convinced himself that he is Beast as in the sexy Beast. And that's why they are known as Beauty and the Beast, because he is the sexy beast, and he loves to rub baby oil all over his stomach and finger his belly button while we do interviews. So I think it's fun,
That definitely does sound like Dr. Cleaver. Another one that I've known for years. I actually have a photo.
I've known Cleaver for quite some time. Cleaver was in Portland Organic Wrestling, POW, when I that was just forming when I was right before I left, and I remember Cleaver as a very good-looking young man, and I don't know what happened.
He lost a tooth. That didn't help, but
he lost a tooth. That was the beginning of the end, I guess.
No, I have a photo. This is back West Coast Wrestling actually used to run in the Salem Elks Lodge, and they did an angle where there was a match, and it was a tag team, actually was, and it was Cleaver and G-Shock, and the losers had to wear dresses. And then during the intermission, people were going in the ring to get the picture taken with G-Shock and Cleaver wearing this really lovely, low-cut pink dress and all that. I have that photo. I posted it on Facebook, and it's tagged on his Facebook page as a photo from about 2005, looking very happy.
I'm sure he had no problem with the angle. Cleaver is very much a team player. Like all the ideas we run past one another in the back. He's all in. Like it's funny because the Grappler is the booker for West Coast Wrestling Connection, and Grappler is a very old school guy, and I've known Lenny for years. I knew him when I lived out there. We were friends then. And so I didn't. I mean, it kind of shocks me because I love wrestling and I always have and it's definitely been a passion of mine and I'm all about the little nuances and the little tricks and I do see it as almost a version of magic and you don't pull back the curtain and you use the sleight of hand, to trick the fans and to, what you want them to believe. And if done correctly, they believe the illusion. And so the last tapings, Jake the Snake was there, and I was, and Jake the Snake's watching everyone's promos and watching the matches and stuff, and he's critiquing, and I was just like, Jake, do you mind, watching my stuff? And he was like, there's no need. And I'm just like, well, okay. And, so I was like, humor me. And so after, he's just like, look, he goes, there's nothing you can learn. He goes, you've figured this out. This is you've mastered your craft, and he goes, and you know what you're doing. And to hear something like that from Jake is just amazing. It's like one of the biggest compliments ever. And then, also when dealing with the Grappler, another guy that I just have, nothing but a ton of respect for. When we're going over finishes, like Grappler, he pulls each guy aside and he goes through like every single detail of every single finish. And then when it gets to any of the stuff with me and my guys, he's like, Fairplay, what do you got? I'm just like, what do you mean what I got? And he's like, come on, he goes, I know you're going to say something awesome, and I'm just like, this is so, it's just humbling, to have those guys with so much knowledge and so much experience and so much everything, to just even not only listen to what I have to say, but let's go with what this kid says. I'm 40, so I guess I'm not really a kid, but I kind of feel like a kid out there with those guys. So it's as I said, it's really humbling and it's a great honor. So
yeah, kind of funny thing you're mentioning respect and all that with the Grappler. I met him in 2004. He was 2004, 2005. He was working with Culbertson once again with Portland. And we were at their TV tapings, and it was before the cameras going, so the guys were in the ring working out, and two guys had some sort of issue with each other for a minute, so they were kind of, butting heads and shoving each other around a little bit. Grappler came out of the locker room. All he had to do was yell, hey! And the two of them stopped. No, I didn't do anything. I'm sorry. And he told them what's up. They listened to him. I mean, the guy commands respect when he walks into a room. First time I met him, I was kind of scared of him. First time I met him.
No, I mean the Grappler's the Grappler. The best. He used to have kayfabe on his license plate forever. Like, how cool is that? Like I know I have many friends that have told me stories that they wanted that license plate more than life itself, and they knew the bar he was at most nights to attempt to get it, but they were too frightened to attempt. But yeah, no, the guy's awesome. I love it.
All right. And, of course, if you've ever seen the Jake the Snake DVD, he tells the story that the origin of the DDT is because of the Grappler and a match that he had with him. So,
yeah.
Those two definitely got his back in the...
And if you guys watch West Coast Wrestling Connection online, the weekly shows coming up, or I think it started this week's episode or last week's episode. It's the DDT Challenge. It's the Grappler. The Grappler picks a guy to train, and Jake the Snake picks a guy to train. And when they're actually having the pick, they have the entire locker room empties out, and I thought it was pretty cool. I walked to the ring, with my guys, And Jake goes, I don't know who I'm going to pick. He goes, all I know is I'm not picking Jonny Fairplay. So, I thought that was pretty good. Like, he goes, I don't know any of these guys' names. All I know is I'm not picking Jonny Fairplay to teach the
Wow. Now, obviously, I did mention we were going to have to talk this about a little bit. You know, you had your wrestling. You're still working in it now. A lot of people know you from Survivor, obviously. The first season.
The first season
I'm
was Survivor Pro Islands. That was season 7.
Right. The first season you were on, Pearl Islands.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Now, everybody remembers you from that, and we all know the incident that everybody remembers is the challenge where you're supposed to have the night with your family member, loved one, or whatever, and you staged what is, I believe, on Survivor, the greatest Survivor moment ever, their top 20 show they did, and it was like the best Survivor moment ever, and that's when you said to grandmother, when did you, one, how did you get cast with Survivor, and two, when did you come up with this idea that turned into the greatest Survivor moment in the history of the show?
Well, the casting director came up to me in Santa Monica and asked me to be on the show, and I had never seen the show. And so once I was cast, I ordered every episode off eBay, VHS tapes, and just studied the show. And I was a fan of the Real World. I wasn't really a fan of Survivor. So I'm watching, and I'm halfway through, and they're like, what do you think of Austin Rob? I'm like, he didn't even make the jury. He sucks. And so, but as I'm watching, every time I got to Loved Ones episode, I actually cried watching it because, I thought they did a good job of character development and emotional attachment with the viewer. So I was just, so it finally got down to season 6, the season before I left. Jenna Maraska's mom was dying of cancer, so everyone lost on purpose so she could find out how her mom was doing with the cancer treatment. So I was just like, well, what's more sympathetic than a dying mom? And I came with the dead grandma. And that's also an homage to Andy Kaufman. The first time he performed at Carnegie Hall, he had Robin Williams come out dressed as his grandmother and died on stage. So it was a collective deal there. And that was formulated about 2 months before I actually left for Survivor.
Now, when you were executing it, when you were going through, your buddy comes out. If anybody hasn't seen the show, I mean, I watched the first couple seasons. I kind of laxed off a little bit. I did see a couple episodes, like the one where the girls strip for peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah, that
I
was
did
season
see that.
6. That was Jenna Maraska. That was
Jenna, yes.
Whose mom was that, yeah.
And I will admit, the next season, Pearl Islands came up. I started watching that one. I liked Rupert. You were on there with him because he stole everybody's shoes. I thought that was kind of cool.
No one on the island did, but but that's cool. It's funny if you go back and watch that season. It's available on Amazon or wherever. But if you go back and watch that season, the only person that said that we all loved Rupert was Rupert, and the only person that said that everyone hated me was me. So there you go. I mean, you go back and watch the show.
Right.
I mean, eighth place, I said, no, Rupert, no problem. If we loved him so much, wouldn't he have hung around? And if they hated me so much, wouldn't I have been voted out? So, but I chose, selective storytelling, and I knew right away that I was going to be one of the narrators for the show. And being a narrator, I chose to create the character of Jonny Fairplay, make that character the biggest bad guy in the history of reality television, and turn on television for as long as possible. So through my confessionals, I explained to the viewers that I'm the bad guy. But no one else said that. It was just me. So.
Right. And like I said, it was Rupert that got my attention. And then as I started watching it, I watched you. I mean, I've always kind of had an eye. I've always liked the heels in wrestling. I've always liked kind of the bad guys in the reality TV as well.
I'm considered the first real bad guy in reality television. I mean, there were other bad guys before me, but they always said, it's like, I got a bad edit. I wasn't really like that. And I went on, I'm like, I'm the biggest bad guy ever. So I kind of get credit for that, which is, it's nice, and I appreciate it, and I feel like I deserve it.
I think you do like you did,
And as far as the wrestling references, I was talking to Jason Powell at Pro Wrestling Night the other day, and the deal with the wrestling references, like, whenever I voted anyone out, I would use a wrestler's catchphrase, or, and on the island, I would give shout outs to Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and stuff like that. The only reason that was done is me and my friends from Portland, like, I called them up. I was like, hey, I'm doing Survivor. Here's the deal. I know you guys don't watch the show. Whenever you watch the show and I do a wrestling reference, drink. I will figure out the best time to give a wrestling reference. I want you drunk at the end of and that's the only, like, everyone's just like, oh, he loves wrestling. And I'm like, no. The only reason I did any of that was it was a drinking game for me and my friends. That's it. So if I did a wrestling reference, drink. That was the entire purpose of all of it.
I like to say, I thought you liked wrestling. I guess there we go.
No, I do. I love wrestling, but that's not why I did it. I mean, I did it for a drinking game. I mean, like, my friends like wrestling too, so I'm just like, if I do a wrestling reference, drink. So that was the extent of it. I mean, it wasn't.
There might have been a lot of drunk people.
I imagine there would be if they knew the rules of the game. So.
Now, getting back to the whole thing, when you actually, if anybody hasn't seen it, they have the challenge where you're going to meet your loved one, and your buddy comes up, and you're explaining to Jeff that it was either going to be your friend or your grandma, and obviously your grandma's not here for a reason. Now, everybody pretty much was into throwing the competition, except for
No, everyone threw. What they didn't show were two major things, and I don't think either were necessary. But the first night there, everyone asked you who your loved one is, and I explained that it's supposed to be my grandmother, but she's dying, and they made me list a backup. And so every night, everyone would pray. Like, we'd sit by the campfire, everyone would hold hands and pray for my grandmother. And I'm like, okay, so I don't even need to say anything when my buddy comes out. Like, all that was established. So that wasn't shown on the show, but I don't think it was necessary. The major thing that they didn't show, and once again, I just think it's hilarious, is when my buddy comes up for the hug and he whispers to me, he goes, Roddy Piper just got fired from SmackDown, is what he whispers to me. And my reply is, I don't give an F. Tell me my grandma died. So you see the hug, we're whispering, he backs up, and I give him the death stare, and he's like, did you get the letter? And I'm like, no. Like, as in we get, U.S. mail out there. Like, no. He goes, dude, she died, dude. So, but that's a little-known fact about that exchange. When he hugs me, he tells me that Roddy Piper got fired from SmackDown. The least important thing in my life at that time.
There you go. I was wondering about that when he said, did you get the letter? Because, you're on Survivor, you're on an island, and, there's no mail. I never quite. Well, now we know the story behind that one.
You do get letters from home, and we ended up getting our letters from home after that challenge. So but when we left to go film, they asked for the letters like a week after we left because they had to go through and approve everything that was in the letter. So my letter from Thunder D was I was like, I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care what's going on in any of my family members' life. I'm like, I'm going to be bored out there. Just send me wrestling results. Just get us subscriptions to the PW Torch, cut out the results, and glue them to a piece of paper and send them to me. That's all I asked for. And they and of course it was copywritten material, so they couldn't give me that. So all that was thrown away. So, and Thunder D's letter was worthless. Basically, it was like, after the fact, he's like, she's not doing good, blah, blah, blah. And then when he shows up, I win 24 hours with my buddy, and I'm just like, all right, so what's happening in wrestling? He goes, I don't really remember. I mean, I don't know. Tommy Dreamer's on Sunday Night Heat, Stevie Richards, I don't know. I'm like, dude, just tell me. He's like, I just really don't remember. I'm like, thanks. Like, you're the reason. The reason I picked you is to tell me. And he was like, I don't know. He was like, Tommy Dreamer's like in a feud with someone, I think. I don't know.
He had a match the other day against some other dude. I don't remember. And he either won or lost.
I'm pretty sure of that. Either won or lost. And I don't remember if the match was good or not. But Stevie Richards was also on the show, and I don't know if they're. You know, Raven might be there, he might not. Thanks. Thanks a lot. All right, well, that's all I needed.
So the whole time you're out on Survivor playing this
Rob
game, trying to win the money.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're out there on the islands. You're trying to win the money on Survivor, and in the back of your mind, you just want to know, who did Tommy Dreamer face? Who's wrestling this guy? Give me some results.
No, to be honest with you, I did not want to know anything about Tommy Dreamer. not even 2003. I did not care what was going on with Tommy Dreamer.
Tommy Dreamer, I don't care.
Yep. No. There's a few more expletives. Yes, that was my exact reaction. So. But.
Now, okay, I'm just going to ask a question. When you executed the whole thing and it went through,
I'm getting dirty looks from my friends at the bar.
Now, when you executed the whole angle and the story went through, we've all seen it on TV.
Yeah.
When did you realize that this was going to be like this huge moment? Because, like I said, it's the greatest. It was voted #1 moment in Survivor history.
I knew it as soon as I did it.
You knew it as soon as you did it.
As soon as I did. Afterwards, while it was going on, Mark Burnett was on satellite phone trying to figure out if he could still fly me out in time for the funeral. And then after he figured out, because he actually called and got my grandmother on the phone, he pulled me aside afterwards. He goes, do you know what you just did? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, this is now your show. And I'm like, where you been, buddy? It's been my show since I got here. So that was it. So no, I knew. And the week that aired was the same week that Saddam Hussein was captured. The front page of the New York Post, the headlines read, "The most hated man in America," with a picture of me. Saddam Hussein was on page 2. So I knew.
So you have that newspaper still too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, no, my name was in print for 18 months, every single week for 18 months straight, whether it be Star Magazine, Us Weekly, USA Today, Mad Magazine, you name it. So, but every single week for 18 months straight. It was insane.
Well, I know, like I said, it pissed off a lot of people. My friends watch Survivor. We have a whole group of us who are into it, and they all hated it. They despised you. I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Like I said, I've always enjoyed these deals.
It was done to be despised, so I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I wanted to be, I wanted to be a heel. As I said, you know who my heroes are. So no, I mean, and as I said, the people that like it, and the people that, if I had done the same thing 5 years later with the way the culture had changed, I would have been the biggest babyface ever. So and I would have hated it. So I mean, it's just I knew where culture was at the time, and I made my play, and I'm happy with it.
So besides West Coast Wrestling Connection, what are you up to now?
About to go in and get another drink. Because as I said, all my friends are staring at me through the window right now. And other than that, I'm working on about to start a feature film for this concept called Ghost Trek. You can follow them on Twitter at Ghost Trek TV. And we filmed two television episodes, which we use to kind of get the word out to get funding for the feature, and that's now happened. So look for that. Look for it next year. We'll be filming here the next few months. It's myself, Disco Inferno, Colt Cabana. Who else do we have on the original deal? Addie Miller from The Walking Dead. So we have tons of people coming up for the feature, and then I am finishing up at the end of this month. Toxic Tutu. It's the mockumentary of whatever happened to Melvin the Mop Boy from the original Toxic Avenger. So, and I play the bad guy in that. So check that out at toxictutu.com.
And if anybody wants to find you on social media, where can they look for you?
Find me at Jonny Fairplay on Twitter. It's JONNY FAIRPLAY, and that's it. I do the other stuff, but I mean, Twitter, I like Twitter the best, so I'll interact more so there. if you say something mean, I just block you. I don't have time. So whatever. So and also coming up, me and Sean Waltman /X-Pac /123Kid /Cannonball Kid,
Lightning Kid, Cannonball Kid, Kamikaze Kid. The names go on and on.
Yes, we have a upcoming weekly podcast that I'm guessing we're going to start next week, and that'll be available on ProWrestling.net. So.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Johnny, and go back into the bar, have a drink for us, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a very fun interview.
All right, Johnny, thanks for joining us. Bye.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Internet. I'm having a hard time talking here. Reality TV star and indie wrestling personality Jonny Fairplay. We now know a little bit more of the story behind Survivor and behind Grandma, and Johnny's just a wrestling fan, and I don't think gave a crap about playing the game of Survivor, as you heard, as long as he had the wrestling results. And I am joined now back by my illustrious co-host, David. David, how are we doing? Doing okay?
Yeah, good to go. I heard some of the interview. It was very informative. I'm glad Johnny was able to come on. Appreciate him, and he's quite a character.
Oh, most definitely, and now it's time for him to go have a drink, so it was, cut him off now, I guess.
Yeah, cut him off before last call, depending on where he's at.
Danville, Virginia, so he's in the Eastern time frame, so it's about 10 o'clock his time, so I think he's got still a few more hours to enjoy a beverage or two.
Oh, right on. Good interview.
I try. I do my best. I am a professional at all this, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Primitive word being think.
Yeah, well, remember, come July 30th, you're handing me this show.
I hired you, so I'm the idiot.
Well,
especially if I come on and talk about how bad you are, then I'm the idiot. So.
Now, really quick, I just wanted to elaborate. I wanted to elaborate on something you had mentioned earlier, July 30th being your last night. I've gotten a few comments, emails from people. They've been asking me about some of this. I want people to understand, and we'll talk more about this come July 30th. We're going to have a special show. Dave's last night. It's going to be a big one. But I want people to know, as long as this show is still branded with IHWE, whether it's IHWE Radio, IHWE Presents, Ringside Wrap-Up Radio with whoever, as long as IHWE is still attached to this show, David is still going to be an integral part of this show. He'll be stepping off as the co-host. He'll come on occasionally, but he's still going to be a director. He's still going to be working as a talent coordinator. He's going to help book guests. He's still a part of the show. He's not leaving. He's just moving on to IHWE TV and allowing me to have more of a hand in producing and formatting the show. So David's not leaving. If anybody wants to talk to David, call in. I can get him. He's still here. He's not leaving. I've gotten a lot of that in the last few days, so I just kind of wanted to let people know you're not leaving.
Well, I'm not leaving. It's not that I'm going away somewhere. I'm moving to parts unknown. It's the whole plan, the whole vision of this was to get somebody, folks, I've got a lot on my plate. I have a 6-month-old son. I have a family. IHWE. I'm not going to come on here and talk about how much more important or busy my life is than everybody else's, because it isn't. But I wear many different hats. The whole vision of this was for somebody like Michael, when I first decided to do this show, it was to get somebody like Michael on and, if need be, train them and get them to where they needed to be. That way they could take over the show. I'm not the egomaniac that has to see myself on flyers and see myself on video and hear my voice and be heard. That isn't me. I don't need to do that. There are some promoters out there, especially down here in the state of Texas, they have to have that. I don't. So my goal is Michael to take it over with this very special co-host he's going to have, and they're going to do some good stuff. the show's still going to be IHWE Radio. It's still going to be all about IHWE, but if you go back and listen to the archives, we talk about everything else sometimes but IHWE, and that's okay. I don't mind that. I didn't want the show to just be about us and not anything else. It's positive goodwill, and I like the relationships that we form with the CAC and other people. But, you know, IHWE TV is going to start July 30th. It's in production as we speak. Our editor and director of digital media, Jonny Fairplay, is working on it. And, you know, it's going to require me, it's going to require a lot on me every Wednesday night to make sure that we've got eyes on the prize, that we've got as many eyes on the product as humanly possible. Doing a great injustice to the radio show or the television show if I try to do both. So all I'm doing is stepping aside and letting somebody else take my place with Michael every week, because this is a lot of fun. And if you don't share the wealth and you don't share the fun, then you're just a douchebag. And while many people may think I am at times, I want others to enjoy this. So, but no, like Michael said, it's not that I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. It's just that I'm stepping aside as the weekly co-host of this show and letting somebody else take my place. And I'll still call in. I've got a situation brewing with Matt Riviera that people have been blowing me up. It's got to be handled. It's got to be addressed, and I will address it on Saturday night, August 30th at Showdown. I'll do it in the ring. I don't use social media as a soapbox to, handle business. I will handle it. I will address it in the ring on Saturday night, August 30th. I'm not happy with Matt Riviera, but at the same time, he is the IHWE champion. And I will not make my company look unprofessional by addressing it via social media. I will address it in the ring Saturday night, August 30th. So there's a lot going on with the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame. There's just a lot going on right now. Again, my life is no more important or busy than anybody else's. Sometimes you stretch yourself too thin. And if you see my pictures, I'm already thin enough. So, see, you're not the only one who's got jokes, Michael. I will gladly step aside. I will still be the director of IHWE Radio. However, Michael will be taking more of a director's role. And I think I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to listening. We've got an all-star show that night. I'm looking forward to the following week with the new format. Michael's a very creative guy, and he has made IHWE Radio kind of his own. And I like that. You know, that's what I had to do for so many years. For so many years, I had to do everything with IHWE. I had to do the Hall of Fame, had to do live events, everything. And it's kind of nice to know that other people are taking over certain aspects that I don't have to do as much. And that's great because my son's here. I get to enjoy more family time. For so many years, I was just wrestling. And, now it's family. And, you know that, Michael. A lot of people with families know that now, every now and then not every now and then for me, I want to spend as much time as humanly possible with my family. So this will just give me 2 more hours to spend with my family, but I'll also be promoting IHWE TV. So long story short, which I'm too late already now, is that with everything going on with IHWE, all the good stuff, nothing bad going on, the only little issues, my little issue with Matt Riviera, but I'll handle it like a man. I didn't retire from being a man. I just retired from being a competitor, like I said. And people will see that come about on IHWE TV in the next few weeks. IHWE Radio is going to be in good hands. Michael and his co-host, we will announce on July 30th. We're going to do great things. The show's going to continue. It's just going to get bigger. It's just going to get better. I never would have guessed, and Michael, you're right there with me, we never would have guessed the show took off as fast as it did, but it did. And, now we're, some weeks our downloads are just ridiculous. And, Michael's got a vision on the new formatting, and he's got a vision, and he's very creative, and I think it's going to be a very good vision. And believe me, if I had any doubts whatsoever, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I am extremely meticulous and I am extremely protective of my brand. But I'm very secure in knowing Michael is got the bull by the horn, and I believe he's going to take the radio show places it's never been. And I'm looking forward to it. But Michael said it right. I'm not moving away to parts unknown. I will be around, but I won't be on the show every week. So yeah.
And he will be helping and bringing us the quality of guests that we've come to know here on IHWE Radio. So I wanted him to be a part of my team. I didn't want him to step aside, give me the whole thing. I asked him to stay on to help out with talent coordination, get me the guests, and then we'll format it. He graciously accepted that. I appreciate that. I'm a guy, I started off as a writer. I never hosted a radio show or a podcast before this. It was given to me. It's something I've enjoyed. It's something I'm looking forward to, and I do plan on doing this for years to come. But as long as I'm doing this podcast, I want David to be a part of my team. And I think he's agreed to that, and we're going to continue on, and we're going to do some good stuff. And he will be on here and there as an occasional co-host and a call-in guest. And speaking of call-in guests, we do have a line on hold right now. Vice President-elect of the CAC, Morgan Dollar, is joining us right now, and he just has a few words to say about the man who this show is dedicated to tonight, Mr. Shuhei Aoki. Morgan, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, guys?
Doing all right, Morgan. Thank you for calling.
Oh, no problem. I was going to call in at the beginning of the show, but I was in a meeting. But at the same time, I had a computer going at the college, and I was listening to the show, but I was still conducting a meeting. And I just wanted to call in and tell especially you guys, thank you for doing what you've done tonight. It was pretty cool.
We were glad to do it.
We're glad you enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I didn't know the man. Y'all knew him a lot better than I did. But, you know, if he was a member of the CAC, then everybody is family in the Call for Alley Club. I'm a lifetime member. Michael's a lifetime member. Morgan, you're the executive vice president-elect. Everybody's family. So when we lose a family member, we all come together. So that's the way it should be, not just with our families that we blood-related, our extended family, in professional wrestling with the Call for Alley Club.
That's exactly right. And, you know, so many times we talk about you don't need to miss any of these reunions, the Hall of Fames, the deal you guys have got going on. You never know when the last time you're going to see somebody. And shoot, he was only 39 freaking years old and died of a heart attack. It's just, the people don't understand. If they're true wrestling fans and the workers as well, if you can afford to go to these events, you need to go to them, because these people, the legends, they gave so much of their life to the fans, and if it wasn't for the fans, they would be no professional wrestler. They would be no Morgan Dollar. And this is just proof that you really need to attend these events, because none of us is promised tomorrow.
And it's not just a CAC event that you need to go to. If it's an IHWE Hall of Fame event, if it's just an indie wrestling show that, you know, somebody you remember from your childhood is on, if you get a chance to go to any of those, to go for it. Because, like, you know, Morgan said, nobody's promised tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen next. You might see somebody in the ring one day and they're gone the next. You know, look back in April, Ultimate Warrior. We saw him at the Hall of Fame. We saw him on Raw. The next day, David and I are planning a memorial show for him. It happened that quick. So, I mean, it's not just a CAC event reunion or any of the Hall of Fame. If you get a chance to go out and just to see these people and make a memory, go ahead. Take that chance. Do it. Because the memories are going to last forever, and you never know if you'll have a chance to see these people again.
That's exactly right, Michael. And, you know, it's like going to the Gulf Coast. I was at the Gulf Coast hanging out with Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bear, Bill Moody, whatever you want to call him. And before we even got home, I was getting phone calls that he had died. And it's one of those deals where you don't really, you think we're all going to be here forever. You really don't think about it. And the reality is you never know when we're going to leave this earth. And we need to enjoy each other's friendship and camaraderie as much as we can.
Now, Morgan, I hate to put you on the spot on all this. I know I messaged you earlier. Is there anything you would like to say about Shuhei on behalf of the CAC or on behalf of yourself? Is there anything you'd like to say to his friends and family or any of the listeners who knew him?
You know, all of us that knowed him, we knowed him. If you know Shuhei, you knowed him. And it was just the type of person that he was. I never heard a bad word come out of his mouth towards anybody. And every year at the reunion, at the Gulf Coast Wrestlers reunion, at different functions that I personally attend, he would come up to me and he would have pictures that he had made the previous year. And I have several of them. I hadn't scanned any of them yet, but I'm going to. He was just that type of person that if you knew him, you had a friend. And Big Bill Anderson wrote on Facebook today, the world is a whole lot better place on account of Shuhei. And that's just the way the guy was. God, he was loved by so many people. It's really amazing how much of a legacy he left in the wrestling business, and he was never, ever a worker of the business. And that's, to me, that's what he was, no doubt, a super fan for sure.
Well, without those people, none of us would be anybody. So, like I was telling at the beginning of the show, we're blessed because no matter what we are in this business, no matter, what we are, who we are, we're all brought together by professional wrestling, and it's the greatest bunch of people that there is in life. So, like for so many years, people looked down at the wrestling business. I met my wife through the wrestling business. She used to come to the IHWE shows. So, I've been blessed so much. Morgan, you have too. Michael, you have too. And we count our blessings. Morgan, the Cauliflower Alley Club does so much to help so many. We do this radio show. This is just, the wrestling business doesn't owe anybody anything. Everybody owes the wrestling business, and I owe it every day. That's why I want to continue to do this radio show. That's why Michael's doing it. Morgan, that's why you put in countless hours and time with the Cauliflower Alley Club that, you don't get anything back monetary-wise. You get it back in seeing faces, seeing reunions, people reunite, seeing the faces of everybody at the annual Cauliflower Alley Club every year in Las Vegas. And this young man, who, like you said, was only 39, people like Maniac Matt Bourne, who 1 year ago on Saturday that he left us. The Ultimate Warrior. We were talking about Bruiser Brody a couple weeks ago here. Just, you never know. You just never truly know. So, especially if you're in this wrestling business, that's why we promote positive goodwill. So does the Cauliflower Alley Club. There's nothing, there's no political, nothing. It's just positive goodwill. And because there's enough negative in this world, the media reports it every day. There's so much negativity in the world. There's not enough positivity. So I'm a big fan of any organization or any individual that promotes positive goodwill, no matter what field they're in. So this young man loves professional wrestling, and in return, we love him and anybody who's affected by his loss, which there's a lot out there. I didn't know the man, but I see it on social media. My hearts are with all of you because this man touched a lot of lives, and if he was a fan of pro wrestling, I'm a fan of him.
Well, 39 years old, and I'm 48, and it just floors me that the shape that he was in, Michael knows, he was in good physical shape. He wasn't overweight. He didn't smoke. You barely seen him drinking. I mean, he lived a good, healthy life, and it just really shocked everybody that this situation happened. But David, you brought up something while you was talking. The world outside of professional wrestling does not understand professional wrestling. They don't understand the bonds that is made with the workers and with the fans. It's a unique business, organization, whatever you want to call it, and when something like this happens, it truly affects all of it. It's not like working for a corporation that has 500 stores and somebody in Seattle, Washington died, and everybody in North Carolina says, oh, I'm sorry that happened. When something in professional wrestling happens, it affects everybody involved with professional wrestling. And I don't know of any other organization that is that way.
It's supposed to be, and it is, a fraternity. And years ago, you had to scratch, claw, and fight your way into the wrestling business. When gatekeepers like Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody were around, you had to fight, scratch, and claw to get in. The rules and the game has changed a little bit, but you better have respect for this business because you're going to run into somebody one day that's been around for a long time. And I think that's one thing that's kind of lost is the respect. Obviously, it's in Las Vegas every year because of everybody that comes. People like the Destroyer, Dick Bayer, and the list goes on and on. Reggie Park, Adam Pearce, cheerleader Melissa, Michael P.F.A., Terry Taylor, Ron Hutchinson, Terry Funk, Gerald Briscoe, Jim Ross, just a few of the dignitaries that were at this year's Cauliflower Alley Club. The respect factor. This young man had it because he loved professional wrestling. He loved it so much that he traveled. He spent money to come every year to Las Vegas just to be around other people who loved pro wrestling. He brought his camera because he had a love for photography, and he combined his two loves. And I've heard nothing but good things over the past 24 hours about this young man. I wish I would have had an opportunity to speak to him because I love talking to people who love the business. I got all the time in the world for people like that. If you don't necessarily, I understand if people don't like professional wrestling because over the past few years there's been a lot of things out there that would turn people off. But if you're going to talk bad about professional wrestling, I don't have a lot of time for you. But I love being around people who love the business, and this young man was one of those people. So I do regret that we never spoke, but like I said, it seemed like at least he got to come to Las Vegas. At least he has that memory, which was only a few weeks ago. So, I mean, y'all should feel good. Michael, you should feel good because you took the time to talk to him. Morgan, you worked hard along with the board of directors to ensure people like this young man had a good time. Y'all both should feel good because you brought some happiness into this young man's life like you do so many others every year with the CAC, and that's why I'm proud to be associated with you.
Well, I think it kind of goes the other way. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think it goes the other way as well. You stated, David, that we brought happiness to Shuhei or whatever. He brought happiness to us. I mean, even just the brief, if I would walk by and, hello, how are you, shake his hand, I acknowledge it, he acknowledged me, but he always smiled when he saw me. And the only time we saw each other was in Vegas, once a year. So he brought as much happiness to us knowing him as we probably brought to him, with these reunions and all that, and for us to have a chance to, talk with him. So it kind of goes both ways. Some of the best or friends I've made in the last few years have been a part of the wrestling business. I have closer friends that are a part of the business than I do in my own personal life now just because I'm so involved in this now. I've known David now for I mean, we've been talking on Facebook, but through the show, we've been kind of talking to each other for about the last 6 months. You know, and a couple months ago, we had an incident at my place, and I was pissed. I was flipping out. I had needed to talk to somebody. I called David. I think he was at a grocery store, but he sat there and listened to me. He talked to me for a few minutes, and after it was done, I was calm and all that. I don't have friends here in town that I could do that because they're busy with their families, their kids, you know, which is understandable. They got a life, you know, they got things they've got to do. But the fact that I have friends and acquaintances that I'm so close with now through, you know, the CAC, through this show, through all the people I've met on Facebook and all that, doing the book and everything, the fact that I have them is a reward. It's something that I appreciate and I do not take for granted.
And that's because your heart's in the right place in this business. You're not doing what you're doing for self-gain. You're doing it for everybody else to enjoy. And that's kind of why I got involved with the CAC. When I found out what the CAC done, what it represented, I felt like it was something I could do to give back to all these legends that, I mean, let's face it, the legends of professional wrestling spent more time in arenas with the fans than they did with their own family. And we need to respect that and give them back something. And that's when I got involved with the CAC, and I think it's a great organization. We honored Shuhei in 2009 with the Red Bass Team Friendship Award. I believe it was 2009. And
yeah, 2009.
It's just great to be able to do stuff like this. And when we lose one of the members of the club that's as popular, especially as he was, because you always seen him at the reunions, it was a big shocker to everybody. But I don't think that he would want us to mourn and be sad about it. I think he would want us to just go ahead and keep on trucking like we're doing, have a good time. Yes, we'll talk about him, but I don't think he would want us to sit around and mourn about it. I think he would want us to keep on living life like we was living it before, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Well, that's why I wanted to dedicate this show to him tonight, because what we want to do here is we want to entertain people. We want them to tune in and listen to us and have a laugh or two, and David and I are doing our thing, or, you know, find out a fact or two about a guest that maybe they didn't know. I mean, we're here to entertain, and I felt that's what he would want to have happen. He would want us to entertain, and therefore I figured dedicating this to him tonight was kind of a way of memorializing him, maybe even mourning him without having to be, you know, without the sadness and the tears and everything about it. We came out and we entertained. So for 45 minutes while I was interviewing Jonny Fairplay, I'm hoping that Shuhei was up there listening and he was realizing that there's another fan out there. He's just one of the, you know, dirtiest players in the game as far as reality TV goes.
All right, well, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I just wanted to call in right quick and say a few words about Shuhei. I didn't want to take up your show time or anything. I'm still waiting on that phone call from IHWE concerning this deal going down the end of September.
Yes, sir. I'll get on that. We do need to have a conversation, so I'll be in touch with you soon, sir.
All right, buddy.
All right, and I'll be in touch with you about more work with the radio show, Morgan.
All righty. And
have a good one, Morgan.
In about 2 weeks, I will be taking about a month and a half off of my regular full-time working job, so I'll have plenty of time to do several different things. We'll all get together and talk about a few things in the next coming few weeks.
Sounds good, boss.
All right.
Thank you.
You all take care. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Morgan. All right. we were joined by Vice President-elect Morgan Dollar from the Cauliflower Alley Club. Just wanted him to call in and say a few words about IHWE, I guess is the way to say the name. As I said, I wasn't sure if I was pronouncing it correctly. I don't know Japanese very well. But I think he actually had an important thing to say. You never know when, someone's going to be gone, so make the memories now. You may not have that chance tomorrow.
I understand, and I agree 100%. Like I said, Matt Bourne passed away, a year ago. Matt Bourne passed away a year ago Saturday. So, his family, I'll talk to them this weekend, his kids, his kids are still taking it really hard. So, just embrace every moment that you have, and more people should get along instead of just bickering with each other. I wish more people would get that, especially in wrestling. People hold on to grudges, and grudges don't make any damn sense either. So, it is what it is. But anyways, Morgan was on. A lot of cool things going down with the CAC. A lot of big changes next year. We're going to be talking about that as the week progresses. A lot of stuff going down. Go ahead and touch on a few things really quick, and we're going to jump off here. The show is going to be a little different every week as we get where we need to be as far as a new format. Like I said, I think we're looking at all the six, but Michael's going to be the one in control of that. So Michael's got a IHWE Radio Facebook page. If you have any questions, that's all Michael. As far as IHWE goes, the company, aside from the radio, IHWE TV will premiere on Wednesday night, July the 30th at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you can go to IHWEnow.com if you have a laptop or desktop computer. You can also download the YouTube app for any device that carries it, whether it be an Android, whether it be an Apple device, Xbox, PlayStation, Roku, some smart TVs, I believe Samsung smart TVs. Download the YouTube app and subscribe to IHWE 2009 is the channel. So there are a couple different ways you can watch it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and the new episode will pop up as soon as it gets uploaded, and it'll get uploaded at 10 p.m. Central Standard. Again, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday starting July 30th, and it'll also go on IHWEnow.com at the same time. So there's a couple different ways to watch it. It's going to be awesome. I am so stoked about this. The weekly episodic wrestling return for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We got another tape on Saturday night.
Sorry.
What?
I was going to say, bottom line, people, just bookmark Wednesday nights for IHWE. 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, IHWE Radio, leading right into every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, IHWE TV. Just block that time, get your computer, listen to our show. As soon as you do that, click right over to YouTube. Just block off Wednesday nights. Wednesday nights is IHWE night.
Yeah.
Let's just call it the way it is.
Let's just call
Saturday
it
night was World Class Championship Wrestling. Wednesday night is IHWE Professional Wrestling. Let's just call it what it is.
Yes, and I'm extremely excited, and Michael's right. IHWE Radio followed. It'll be a lead-in to IHWE TV. IHWE TV will be the follow-up of IHWE Radio. So IHWE Radio will get you ready. It'll be your pre-show, sort of, to IHWE TV. As Michael will be going, he'll have the lineup, and he will be discussing the lowdown in IHWE before the TV show goes. Also, starting in August, we have IHWE Anti-Bullying. Life is short, don't be a bully. Our first assembly is going to be Saturday, August 30th, prior to the 2014 edition of Showdown. So, myself, Black Bart, Charlie Haas, Sarah Morgan, Scott Patterson, we will be talking to the kids about bullying, how to avoid it, what you should do, and stories of people that have been bullied, like myself, like Sarah, like others, and how we overcame it. I'm very strongly about this campaign. We got merchandise coming as far as shirts. We got buttons. We got lapel pins. We're not doing this for PR. We're doing it because we, as superstars, have the power to instill good values into our youth. And we need to be doing that. We need to be taking advantage of the fact that kids look up to not necessarily me, but the wrestlers, the superstars. So we need to take advantage of that. Saturday night, August 30th, is Showdown at the Action Martial Arts Facility, a triple threat 2-3 fall rematch of the DFW title. Maricose, Gregory James, Barrett Brown. If you want to see the first one, tune in on Wednesday night, July 30th, IHWE TV, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. August 30th, I will be the special guest referee. Also, main event Mike Fox goes against Seshai. Charlie Haas will be making his IHWE debut. He'll be wrestling at Old School Hustle, but he will be at Showdown to meet and greet fans. Let me see. July 20th, Sunday, July 20th is the Texas reunion, Texas Legends, Black Bart, Chico Torres, James Beard, and the return for the first time in I think about 2 decades of the legendary Eric Embry. And Eric was going to be doing a show down here, not an IHWE show, but another independent show, and that show was canceled. However, fans, don't fret, don't get mad. He will be here. IHWE is bringing Eric Embry down here, and we will make sure that his fans of the Dallas-Fort Worth area will get to see him again. July 20th, we will have video, we will have pictures from that event. And then, of course, all leading up to Sunday night, September 28th, Old School Hustle in the Sendero Center, the biggest night in IHWE history. Jim Cornette will return to Fort Worth for the first time in 2 decades. Barbara Goodis will be there. Stan Larry Hansen will be there. Charlie Haas will be there. Bill Anderson will be there. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla heavyweight champion, one half of the Ring of Honor tag team champion. Kyle O'Reilly will be there. The superstars of IHWE will be there. Karen Merritt will be there. Just the list goes on and on and on. And yes, Michael and Joe Sousa from California, they will be there as well. So the list just goes on, and every day somebody's emailing me saying they'll be there. So, hell, by the time that building might not be big enough, and that building holds 1,900 people. So stay tuned to IHWEnow.com for ticket information. Remember, we have the Old School Hustle general admission ticket, the VIP ticket, which is $20. That gets you a front row seat. That gets you a poster, and that gets you early admission, an hour to meet the legends and the superstars of IHWE. And at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday night, September 28th, the Jim Cornette Experience. I said Sunday night, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Sunday afternoon. Jim Cornette live Q&A at the Sendero Center. It will be hosted by Global Wrestling Federation alumni and IHWE broadcasting member Craig Johnson. I spoke to Jim Cornette this past Monday, and Jim will be addressing the IHWE fan nation sometime in the next few weeks, and he will be addressing them in a video. Don't know what Jim Cornette's going to say. A little worried.
Oh, God.
Oh, a little worried. I don't know what he's going to say, but he did say he would be addressing, and, of course, he will be here on Wednesday night, July 16th, as a part of the Terry Gordy tribute broadcast. And
he'll behave on the Terry Gordy tribute, right?
He will.
He's going to behave.
He will.
Okay.
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, if Johnny gives him the permission, Cornette may just go nuts. You never know. Saying Jim Cornette's going to behave, I don't know if I can handle that responsibility, because that means I'm in charge of keeping him, and I don't know if I can do that. It's Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette.
Yeah, well,
you know,
I'm just going to mind my P's and Q's. I'll let you run the show. I'm just going to sit back and stay out of Jim Cornette's target range, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. But anyway,
I am looking forward to
now,
meeting him, though. I am looking forward to meeting him.
Yes. IHWEnow.com for all of your IHWE needs. IHWEnow.com. IHWE Radio has a Facebook page. IHWE has a Facebook page. We're on Twitter, YouTube. There's a big things coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and IHWE TV will run throughout the year. So every Wednesday night starting July 30th, the first season of IHWE TV will premiere, and it'll run through the end of the year. I am working on a second season of IHWE TV. Not going to say a whole lot because I don't know. When I get more information, I will address it live. But anyway, you can find me on Twitter at HXCFuller, IHWNow.com. I cannot stress that enough. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We have 180 worldwide YouTube subscribers. Go subscribe now. You don't want to miss IHWE TV. Okay? Don't want to miss it. You want to see the first showing. So get there. Subscribe to it and get that channel bookmarked so at 10 p.m. on July 30th, you're ready to go. You're not going to want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. And I just confirmed Sarah Morgan, who was the host of the IHWE Experience, she will be on IHWE Radio as well on July 30th. So, big business.
July 30th is definitely going to be a big show. And also I want to let people know, as part of the Old School Hustle on September 28th, David did make this announcement a couple weeks ago, I will be going to the show. I'm looking forward to it. First trip ever to, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, so I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a quick trip, but I'm still, I'm going to world-class territory, so I'm excited. But along with the Jim Cornette experience and along with the VIP thing, which I hope I get to attend, all of this for free. I don't want to have to buy a ticket. We will be hosting, or I will be hosting, because David will be busy, I will be hosting a live episode of IHWE Radio from Old School Hustle prior to the beginning of the show. I will be getting interviews with the participants in the matches. Hopefully I will have a chance to talk with Stan Hansen, Barbara Goodish. I might try to talk to Jim Cornette. We'll see what happens. Face-to-face could be interesting. I'm willing to try it. But we're doing a live podcast from the Old School Hustle on September 28th, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
It will be the first time ever that a live podcast is taking place from an IHWE live event. So, and that's the biggest event in IHWE history. On June 8th, we had over 500 people in attendance. Hopefully, we break that record. I know fans coming in from 5 different states, and we have talent coming in from about 9 different states. So I am really looking forward to this. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be great. So, but anyway, Michael, let's wrap this up and go ahead and do your thing, man.
All right, yeah, let's wrap this up. I got a wife and kids that are waiting for me out in the other room there. So, anyways, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Encyclopedia World Class. I do have an announcement coming in the next few days about the release date for Encyclopedia WCCW. There have been a few changes. I will be addressing that. You can find me on Twitter at EncycloWCCW. You can find the IHWE Radio fan page on Facebook. Just search for IHWE Professional Wrestling Radio. And as David said, August 6th, we do begin a new format. I will have a new co-host, and I think it's going to be an excellent show. And on behalf of all our guests tonight, Jonny Fairplay, the Executive Vice President-elect of the Cauliflower Alley Club, Morgan Dollar, David, and myself, I would like to, one more time, say that this show was dedicated to the memory of Shuhei Aoki, a definite friend of the business and a wonderful man to have the opportunity to meet and speak with. I hope you enjoyed the show. And in his honor, ladies and gentlemen, go out, make a memory, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back next week live on IHWE Radio.